Nike and morons are not wrong. Just do it, and the 5-second rule can interrupt a pattern of avoidance or procrastination. Mel's whole point is that action has to happen before the mind starts manufacturing reasons not to move. And Nike's slogan has an interesting role on the pattern of procrastinating according to neuroscience. I'll get into that later. But they stop at the behavioral interrupt. What they do not explain is why one person can just do it and feel more like themselves, while another can white knuckle the exact same action and end up burnt out, hollow, and further away from the person they truly want to be. And that's my lane. So I'm going to explain the science and the spirit of how to stop procrastinating and finally go all in.
You're listening to the Science and Spirit of Happy, a podcast unpacking the sustainable dreams theory.
Get it? Yeah! I'm Lauralee Lothbrook. People call me the Healing Meets High Performance Prof because I reverse engineered an applicable strategy to transform my life from debilitating anxiety to my sustainable dream. A loving family, financial and time freedom, so I can live the lifestyle I want and be home with my kids. And the biggest thing, the only thing, standing in my way was what the heck the difference was between just doing it from aligned action, so supporting and nurturing myself to push past my comfort zone, to grow, and pushing away discomfort, trying to escape myself and performing success while feeling like crap. The difference is not merely action. It's whether the action is coming from alignment or from performative override. Now, trying to outrun yourself out of self-loathing or nurturing yourself into the better version of yourself that you believe you could be, this really makes a difference in where you end up. So here's the real answer in my language. When people dream big and stall, when it's time to really go for it, it's not as simple as them just not wanting it badly enough, okay? This is a neurological and a nervous system response. So let's actually talk about what's happening in your brain when you procrastinate. Because this is where the personal and professional development advice, people really get it wrong. So they say procrastination is some form of laziness, when it's not. There's a whole body of research, neuroscientists like Timothy Pitchell and Fuchsia Swarah, that shows procrastination is actually an emotional regulation strategy, okay? Meaning you're not really avoiding the task, you're avoiding the state the task puts you in, or more accurately, what you think the task is going to feel like. So when you go to do that workout, when you go to sit down on that side hustle, that business you want to create, when you try and actually take the actions that you've dreamed of, maybe you've even planned of, this wiring kicks in. So here's what's happening neurologically. Okay, when you imagine the dream, the life, the version of you, the relationships, the outcome, your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagining and experiencing. So you get dopamine activity, okay? Anticipation, possibility, reward prediction. That's why planning feels good. That's why people can sit there mapping their dream life and feel like they're making progress. Because neurologically, you're getting a partial reward signal. But the second you move towards execution, different circuitry comes online. Now you're dealing with amygdala activation, okay? Threat detection, salience network, scanning for risk, cortisol release, stress mobilization, prefrontal disruption, reduced executive clarity under stress. So now instead of, this is exciting, your system reads, this is exposing. And this is where we actually have to understand something deeper, because I've talked about this before. Your stress response is largely shaped in infancy. It's Dr. Sue Gerhardt's work. When your stress centers were activated as a baby, when you cried out for help, the way your caregivers responded to that literally shaped how your brain now responds to stress activation. But also, how quickly you detect threat and how intense it feels. And this is key, how quickly you can come back down. So now, as an adult, anytime you move toward more, you're not just taking a step toward a goal, okay? You're activating that entire system. And this is true for everyone. So why do some people shirk away and do something else productive instead? Or worse, distract away with a movie marathon or a doom scroll, while others take a deep breath and dive in. This all depends on how you're patterned to manage stress. If you've got great emotional regulation skills, you take that breath and you go for it. And if you don't, your neurology throws you another curveball. Because when you delay, you distract, you shift your attention, you experience relief. And to your brain and your nervous system, that relief is not neutral, okay? It's positive. It's a reward in and of itself. You have just successfully down-regulated your stress. Your brain registers that as good job. So now you've got a reinforcement loop. Action, stress, avoidance, relief. And that relief gets wired in as neurological productivity. And distraction can take on wildly different forms, okay? For some people, it looks like checking out completely. That classic, they come home, sit on the couch, eat, drink, scroll, watch, sleep, get drunk on the weekend, repeat. For other people, and this is where a lot of high performers get confused, okay? It looks like being constantly busy, always doing something, always productive, never having the time to actually do the things that would move their life forward, okay? Different behaviors, same mechanism. Both are regulating away from the same internal experience. Now, here's why I'm going to push back on the mainstream advice. Because yes, you can interrupt this, okay? You can force action. You can give yourself 5 seconds to act. You can just do it. I have little rules like this for myself. Before, with a toddler, I used the waitressing advice of never leaving a room empty-handed. Nowadays, I'm telling myself to complete every task as I'm doing it. Don't put something down and get to it later. Just fully complete the motion by putting it away in its place, etc. Successful people's time is high value, okay? They need these little 1% hacks. It's optimization. And what did they find after decades of research trying to find a way to escape the procrastination loop? That the only way to escape it is, drumroll please, to just do it. So we're right back at square one. And that only tells you how to interrupt the loop. It does not tell you how to change the system that created the loop. It does not show you how to feel good about change or how to embrace the unknown with faith. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Those tools, they work best for people whose system is already relatively aligned, people who can activate and recover, people who can feel stress and not interpret it as a threat to themselves. There's so many people out there selling the 1% optimization tools. They help them move faster and better. But imagine how an overwhelmed, working, stay-at-home mom who is drowning in chaos at home would react to me saying she should simply complete each task as she's doing it. Like, what? Like, oh yeah, like move like a waitress, like never leave a room empty-handed. I'll tell you, that advice might actually cause her more stress, not less. It's a 1% fix when we have a foundational problem. And forcing action over and over again can actually deepen the problem. Because now you're not just stressed, you're overriding yourself. After decades of research, this is the best place we can arrive. Just do it. Interrupt the loop. Take the action. Coming mainly from the people who never had a major issue with follow-through to begin with. So think about that. We've known this take forever. Nike built an empire on that sentiment. Just do it. People have probably been saying that to each other for forever. And yet here we are. Still stuck, still stalling, still knowing exactly what we want and not moving. So clearly, that's not it. There's more. So, what actually differentiates the people who move forward easily is not that they want it more. It's not fundamentally that they're more disciplined. And it's not that they don't feel the stress. It's that their system doesn't interpret that stress as a threat to who they are. They can activate and stay. They can feel the stretch and breathe into it. They move toward what they want naturally without disconnecting the process. And that has nothing to do with who you truly are and everything to do with how you were shaped. Okay? That is a developmental capacity, what I call a personal power. And if you're listening to this and thinking, yeah, I don't have that, that's not a verdict on you. That's a reflection of how your system was shaped early on. If you want to understand that piece more deeply, how your early environment shaped your stress response, your confidence, and your ability to move forward in your own life, that's exactly what I break down in the attachment season 4 of the podcast. And if you don't just want insight, if you actually want to change how you respond in those moments, that's the work we do inside the membership, where I give you the tools and therapies to develop the personal powers that make success inevitable. Because once your system starts treating your own life as a threat, you don't need to force yourself anymore. You move. So if you want to interrupt the procrastination loop, the research says you should just do it. And if that advice seems kind of silly to you, then you're probably a good candidate to join the membership. This is where I deliver tools and therapies that actually helps you change your shape and change your internal responses. So you systematically become the person for whom success is inevitable. And that includes being a person who goes all in and feels good doing it.